essentially, if you don't know, critical race theory is a theory that was created back in like 1989 by a lady named Kimberly Crenshaw, black lady named Crenshaw. She's a professor at Columbia University and UCLA, very intelligent lady. And she also created the term intersectionality, the study of, two groups and how they meet at adversity, or how they meet in adverse situations, go through things. She created that. She also created critical race theory. And this has pretty much been brought back to life when a guy named Christopher Rufo, who is a right-wing think tank fellow, I don't know who this guy is, I'm not familiar with him, was on Tucker Carlson's show, and he brought it up and he said, hey, world, you need to beware of this critical race theory thing. They're trying to indoctrinate our kids. They're going to make our kids think that America is just racist. And he called Donald Trump to action. This is back in 2020. He told Donald Trump, you need to do something about this immediately because they're going to ruin America by teaching the kids that America is just inherently racist. So Donald Trump being a fan of Fox News or whatever, he went on and, wrote a bill saying that he banned critical race theory just wherever he could. Wherever he was able to, he banned it, right? So once Biden won the election, he went and reversed Donald Trump's ban. So critical race theory had been legal again. But by that point, though, a bunch of states already jumped on the Trump and Tucker Carlson and this Christopher Rufo guy's bandwagon, and they decided to put their own bans in place of what a lot of these bans that these states put in place, to me, don't exactly look like CRT bans, critical race theory bans. They look like flat out bans on teaching any history that involves discussing racism or sexism. Right. And that's why I said it's a whole switcheroo that they did. They did the dog whistle thing and states caught wind of it and they used that as an opportunity to stop teaching accurate history as it relates to race in America, which a large part of what went on that built American history, that built America throughout its history is race related and racism related. So to leave it out means you flat out don't want to teach the accurate history. And that's why I feel like we kind of fell for this thing of fighting for CRT. And then these states went and said they acted like they were banning CRT, but they weren't. They were really just banning discussing race. And some states took it so far as they can't even discuss anything that will make a child feel discomfort or guilt. So now if a white kid feels guilty about some type of history in America, a school can't teach that. And some of these states even gave parents the power to be able to sue the school if they violate these rules, these new laws, right? Some of these laws haven't passed yet. They're just bills. They're attempting to be passed. Like Georgia's one of them. There's a whole list of states. I don't think it'll pass in Georgia because some of these bills are against teaching race, different race topics and sex topics and sexual orientation topics. Some of this stuff won't pass. I'll just tell you a list of the states that they have, and this is according to Forbes. Early in 2022, February 2022, Forbes did an article listing the states that were banning CRT. So let me just give you a rundown: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, Washington State, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Damn near half the states or more have banned the teaching of CRT, not only in K through 12 instruction, public education, in colleges, and in state agencies. So they can't even do any training, like training of employees. Let's say the post office has a race incident. The bosses and managers in the post office couldn't even sit these guys down and teach them do training, sensitivity training based on race. Back in the day, if you had an incident or if there was something going on in the public, organizations would do sensitivity training or something along those lines, where they would then teach people the history so that they can understand where people are coming from when they make certain complaints in the workplace. But these states are banning state agencies from being able to do that. And I said the post office, that's a federal agency, but state agency. So if you wanted to, let's just say the state public health services, if there was an incident and they wanted to teach against racism, they're not allowed to do it in a lot of these states. So like I said, the switcheroo, they took this CRT thing too far, and now you're going to have it to where they can't even teach the kids in school that people were enslaved based on race in America. That would fall again. That would go against the ban. So you can't even teach that now. I've seen some books of what they're teaching the kids now about slavery. They're teaching them that immigrants were forced to build the country, or build buildings and pick cotton and things. They're calling them immigrants. They can't even call them slaves. They can't say that they were black people who worked against their will, who were brought here, drugged from their homeland. That will be against the law in a lot of these states. And it's ridiculous, because if you are against CRT, which the idea of CRT is very complex. It's not something that just discusses race. It's a very complex theory that Kimberly Crenshaw came up with. And I'm not against it. It's more so something that you would learn in college. It's a college level type of thing. They wouldn't have been teaching kids CRT anyway. So that's where the switcheroo came in, with a lot of the conservatives acting like teaching that slaves were black in America, or people were enslaved based on their race in America. That's not CRT. That's just what happened. CRT is to look at what's happening in America structurally and say, how does racism play a part in the structure of this thing in America? That's CRT. But they flipped it for this argument's sake, and now they're banning the teaching of history in America. Okay? So these people in power right now are on the side of inaccurate history. And not everybody, but the people in power in a lot of these states are against the accurate teaching of history. That's what you have to call it. We're not arguing for CRT in schools or against CRT in schools. First of all, CRT makes a lot of sense in college. In a college setting, there's a lot of courses that get into the theory of different structural ideologies in any country. So that's college level stuff. What they're doing with the schools is not that. CRT in public schools was never a thing anyway. They were never teaching that in school, in public K through 12 schools. So to ban it in K through 12 and then to ban it in state agencies is just a little bit crazy to me. And again, I only wanted to discuss this because I haven't talked about it before, and I kept on seeing the discussion popping up, and I'm like, why are they mixing up CRT with teaching history in schools? But it looks like these people have won, because it's banned in a lot of states now. And again, a lot of these rules don't say anything about CRT. They say forbid the teaching or affirming of certain concepts connected to gender, religion, or race. That's Alabama. It doesn't say CRT. It says 4 bills are pending in Alabama. House Bill 7, House Bill 9, House Bill 11, House Bill 312, aimed at K through 12 and colleges, forbidding the teaching or affirming of certain concepts connected to gender, religion, or race. Instructors cannot be required to share their view about widely debated and currently controversial topics or issues, right? So when you use vague language like that, it's very up to interpretation, and you can be punished if let's say you didn't think you were breaking these rules, but if a staff member or if a parent thinks that you've broken one of these rules and you discuss something that's currently controversial or widely debated and you didn't realize you were just discussing American history because that's what you do as a teacher, you can be fired and the school can be sued. Right? And with them allowing schools to be sued, that will make schools go extra hard to ensure that their teachers do not teach anything race related, which is flat out ridiculous. It's the world we living in, though, man. It's the world we living in. Like I said, I want y'all to do some more research on it, do some digging. You know, this full list of states that are banning teaching accurate race history or accurate history in America, because you can't teach the history of America without discussing race. It's just too intertwined into too many things. How do you even discuss the period after the Civil War without discussing race? The period in America after the Civil War without discussing race. Essentially, the only way to not discuss race in America is to teach American history and never mention black people at all. That's the only way you can do it. If you mention black people in American history, you will have to mention racism, because even with the great things that we have done in this country, we had to do it despite what we were facing at that time. You can't make it seem like George Washington Carver was out here inventing all of the stuff he was inventing without getting a lot of pushback and having to deal with different white people trying to take his inventions from him or discoveries from him. Okay, you can't teach one without the other. But whatever. I want y'all to check that out, man. Critical Race Theory. Salute to Kimberly Crenshaw. She was just out here living a normal life, and she was mainly, Critical Race Theory is old, 30-year-old thing. She was pumping intersectionality more than anything. Her podcast that she has is about intersectionality. This guy on Tucker Carlson's show is the one who brought critical race theory back up to the mainstream. That wasn't where her main focus was. So now, with it being a big topic, she's lit again, and it's turned up. I think y'all should go do some reading on that, man. Very interesting topic, and that lady is extremely intelligent.